Okay, so the question for today is church a scam or the cure for the common cold? I mean, that's a drastic difference. There's this comedian. His name's Rory Scovel. He walks onto the stage and he says, "Could you imagine still going to church?" And it is so funny because I don't know why it's so funny, but I guess it's so funny because in this day and age, you don't ask that. It's just not the right question to ask because, you ask somebody if they go to church or somebody asks you if you go to church, you want to say, it feels like a question of your character if you don't. It feels like that's what, uh, I don't know, it feels like church attendance aligns with good character. He goes on in that video to say, at some point as a young adult, we all kind of went, it's a scam, right? Talking about church, like he called it a scam. And so I got to thinking, back at a place to talk when we started in 2009. Now we kind of started as a church kind of non-publicly in 2006 on Father's Day, or maybe a week before Father's Day. We started in my living room, but then later we closed Brookford Baptist Church. We reopened a place to talk a year later, or we launched a place to talk publicly a year later in 2009 on Easter Sunday, and we had a great attendance. We had two services, and we kind of packed the building out in one of them, and it was pretty. It felt like a big success. We all felt like, yeah, this is what we wanted. But there was this little part of me, it didn't feel right, to be honest with you. It kind of felt like a scam. You say, what do you mean? Did you do something intentionally to be a scam? No, 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 not at all. Well, here's what I had imagined. I had imagined that we would have a rip roaring, exciting lights, camera, fog machines, like worship service that was, celebratory and powerful. And then afterwards, we would turn all that off and we would just have this real honest, open, a place to talk, communicate, conversation. But it felt like a scam because the lights and the stage and then kind of coming down to a totally different vibe, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel real. And so I'm not saying that all lights and all stage and all performance is a scam, but I do want to talk to you about what are some signs of a church that might be a scam, or what are ways that church can be a scam, and how do what's the alternative that you can look for? Okay, first of all, first sign that it's a scam is certainty or absolute truth is what's being sold. If they're selling certainty and absolute truth, I'm going to say it's a scam. You say, but Josh, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. No man comes to the Father but by him. And Jesus is absolute truth and certainty. That's what we've been taught all of our life. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that Jesus isn't a sure thing. I think Jesus, I mean, my heart, my passion, my life has been built around, or my life is about following Jesus. But I don't think that's the message we should be selling. And if the church that you're a part of is preaching a lot of things and saying this is absolute truth, this is absolute truth, this is absolute truth, I think they're selling the wrong thing, because I just don't feel that way. You say, well, Josh, are you saying that Jesus is not absolute truth? No, I'm saying that whole idea of absolute truth, it just kind of leads us down a path to certainty that we shouldn't really be going down. I think that when we start stacking absolute truths on top of one another, and we start trying to put into our brain all of these things that we believe are absolute truths, it closes the door to growth. Every time I grow in anything, as I learn more about some particular scientific topic, or as I learn more about some theological topic, or as I learn more about some math, anything, science, math, theology, sociology, psychology, anthropology, anytime I learn more about something, and I think that, oh, I've arrived, I've found some absolute truth, I realize that the deeper I dig, the more information I get, bam, all of these more questions explode in my mind. And so what I want to say to you is, if you're going to a church and they're selling you lists and trying to help you memorize absolute truths, I think they're closing your ability. They're shutting you off to those abilities that you need for critical thinking and response, and kind of coming up with more questions. Questions, it doesn't sell. It's not the best way to advertise for a church. Hey, come hang out with us at A Place to Talk. We will make you question everything. That's not appealing, but it's true. We're not selling absolute truth. We're selling a safe place, or we're talking about or becoming a safe place for you to have questions, and for you to talk about your doubts and to talk about your struggles. Okay, so number one, selling absolute truth. Number two, making you dependent. That's a scam. If you become more and more dependent on going to church every weekend to confess your sins, or going to some pastor, leader, teacher to get more direction, or to get more to get questions answered all the time, that's a scam. It's just bringing you back. It's kind of bringing you into this system that demands your dependence, and it puts you more and more dependent on that organization, and that's not healthy. Growth should lead to empowerment. You should, if you're growing in a relationship with faith and spirituality and Jesus, you should become more and more independent of a religious organization. That doesn't mean you should become independent of a relationship. Relationship's important, but you shouldn't become more and more dependent on a church. Okay, number three. So number one, certainty. If they're selling certainty, it's a scam. If they're pushing dependence or causing you to be more dependent, that's a scam. If they are emphasizing presentation over people, it's a scam. I went into a church one time, and I arrived like 2 or 3 minutes late, and I was trying to get into the service, and an usher had to use a flashlight to help me see my way to the seat. And it didn't change really. The service the whole time was dark. It was, and you say, Josh, what's the problem with dark? There were lights up on the stage. So the stage had lots of brightness and lights, but out in the auditorium, out in the audience, it was very, very dark and quiet and weird. You say, Josh, that's not weird. That's just putting on a great show. Okay. If putting on a great show is more important than people having a conversation and asking questions and learning, I think you're missing the point of church. I would define the ecclesia, the iglesia, that concept as the followers, the called out ones, gathering in a public place for the purpose of deliberation. You say, Josh, where did you get that definition? That's the definition of church that I've been using for 20 years now. And where did it come from? Honestly, it might have just come from my crazy mind. But what was happening was I was studying that word, ecclesia, and that's the conclusion I came to. I came to the conclusion that the church is supposed to be the called out ones, the people who are who have made a decision that they're trying to be like Jesus or follow Jesus. They're the ones that are called out and they meet in a public place, and they do it for the purpose of deliberation. And so when A Place to Talk started, we wanted to do everything we could to make A Place to Talk a very, very public place. Otherwise, we needed to sell the property and go meet in town square. And so we have never done that. We've never sold the property and decided to meet in town square. We've got a great piece of property here. And so we try to make this place as public as possible. We allow people to use it for all kinds of things, including the social services met here for a while. Narcotics Anonymous have met here for years. We've had some Boy Scouts meetings here. We've had some other churches kind of incubate or start their meetings here. But the church is the called out ones gathered in a public place for the purpose of deliberation. You can't talk in a dark room where all the lights are up on the platform. Okay, that brings me to the fourth thing. Tithing. I think tithing's a scam. You say, Josh, tithing's beautiful. I would agree that giving is beautiful. But if you're giving to an organization or an institution, beyond the ability to make a space for people to gather in a public place for the purpose of deliberation, anything beyond that, it just feels like a scam to me. You say, Josh, the Levites, they had to be fed, and everybody else, everybody else collected and they gave so that the Levites could be fed. Well, I don't think we're in that same scenario. I personally am not a fan of paid professional ministers. I'm just not a fan of that. I'm not saying that there's never a place for that. I'm not saying that every person that's a paid professional minister is a scam artist or shouldn't be paid or should be fired or their salary should be cut. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm saying that if tithing is this huge thing in the place you go to and it feels gross to you, I would just call it a scam. I'd just call it a scam and get out. Okay, number 5, the welcome sign is often a scam. I mean, the whole concept of we welcome you or everyone's welcome, except you can't participate if you're LGBTQ, or you can't participate if you are divorced, or you can't be a deacon if you're a woman, or you can't minister if you're a woman. I mean, all of that crap. It's just a welcome that has fine print. And so if the welcome at the church has fine print, then it's a scam. Number 6, the platform is a scam. You say, what do you mean the platform is a scam? I'm not a fan of the entire concept of a platform, a place where this person goes up, steps up to the pulpit or climbs up and then they speak above everyone else. I think that's a scam. You say, Josh, sometimes you're just up there so your voice carries better. Okay, fine. That's fine. But if that's the case, the platform should be rotating, like all kinds of different people should be going up into that platform. And so anyway, I just think that whole concept of a platform, that hierarchical leadership, I just think it's a scam. I just don't buy it. I don't love it. I'm not a fan of it. You say, Josh, is every church? No. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not accusing everybody else. I'm just helping you. If you want to say to yourself, is church a scam? Should I ever go to church again? Here's 7 ways to look out for what a scam is. And I want to give you 5 reasons that I think you should be a part of a church. Find a place that fits for you and that doesn't give you those scam vibes. Here's 7 ideas to help you think through the scam vibes, and, a place that fits for you, because I'm going to give you 5 things here in a minute, that 5 reasons I really think you should be a part of the church. Okay. Number 7, the last scam vibe issue here is branding in church. I just think it's a scam. I've done it before. We've printed t-shirts. We've had those times where you go out and you do ministry and everybody wears the t-shirt with your church on it. And honestly, that feels like a scam to me. It's marketing. It's not service. but it's service with marketing. So I'm not saying to never do it. I'm not saying that you should throw it away. I'm just saying that every time I find myself tempted to do something in that way, I have to back up and ask myself, is this just a scam? Is this just, am I just trying to, is this really just branding? Okay, so that's 7 tips if you want to look for what's scammy in church. Here's 5 reasons I think you should be in church. Number 1, mirror neurons. You say, okay, I know what mirror neurons are. Well, if you don't, our brains are the parts of us recreate, grow by mirroring what they see. And that's at a very, very small internal scale, but it kind of works its way out. And here are examples of how this kind of works out and principle. If you see somebody yawn, sometimes it makes 2 or 3 other people in the room yawn. When I see somebody cry, it makes me emotional. I want to cry with them. When you see somebody smile, it makes you smile back. All of those emotions are positive things that happen in church. And you say, Josh, that's not just in church, that's in book club, that's in sporting, events. That happens at the bar. Yes. If you can find a place like Cheers, I don't know if you watched that sitcom in the 80s, but if you can find a place where everyone knows your name and going to a bar is happy and healthy for you and it's just as good as church, then go for it. But a place to talk, when we started, I really, the whole atmosphere of Cheers kind of resonated with me. And I wanted a place to talk to be a place where everybody knows your name and everybody's glad you came and you just come in and go, hey, Norm, you just have that kind of a relationship. So the mirror neurons, number 1. Number 2, oxytocin. Relationships reduce stress. When you are in relationships, when you're talking, when you say, hey, Norm, it releases oxytocin in your body, and it's a chemical and it reduces stress. Loneliness is worse, they say, than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And so you think, hey, Josh, I don't need church. I'm not lonely. Church isn't for you. It's not just for you. It's something you do to help people around you. It's a shared communal experience where you go to give, and you say, Josh, what do you mean? I go to give. Go to give what? Tithe. Remember? No, I'm kidding. But go to give your time. Go to give your smile. Go to give your tears. Go to give your high fives and questions, and go to give your challenges, and go to give. Okay, so loneliness worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I'm encouraging you to be at church to help others with loneliness. Relationships are the single most powerful predictor of long-term health, according to a research that's been done by Harvard since 1938. Nothing is a bigger indicator or predictor of health, of positive health, long-term positive health outcomes than relationship. So get in church, get in a community where you are, something that doesn't feel scammy to you and something that just helps you be in relationship. Eudaimonic lifestyle. What's a eudaimonic lifestyle? It is a lifestyle that is almost it's an altruistic lifestyle. It's you say, Josh, you used a big word to describe another big word. Okay, it's a lifestyle of selfless giving, not hedonistic lifestyle. Hedonistic means if it feels good, do it. It's for me. I want to tell you that I think the most eudonistic lifestyle, or the most hedonistic lifestyle possible, is an altruistic lifestyle. A eudynamic lifestyle is a hedonistic lifestyle if you just happen to understand that the best possible thing for you is giving and loving and caring and serving and helping. So you say, Josh, what on earth does all of that mean? Well, a eudonic lifestyle, a serving, giving, kind, helping, loving, altruistic lifestyle, it fires the genes off in your body that actually reduce inflammation and enhance antiviral responses in your body. You say antiviral, yeah. Antiviral, common cold, it's a virus. And there's not a cure for it. We haven't figured out how to fix it. What if the way to fix it is just relationship? What if relationship and love and giving and kindness, all of that stuff? I could go on and on and on about this, but there was 7 ways to recognize a scam and 5 reasons I think you should be in church.